Today, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 films for Halloween. Greetings and welcome to my channel, JJP Horror, Sci-Fi and Fantasy Corner. I'm your host, JJP. As an introduction to my new channel, I thought I would start with a top 10 list of films which I normally watch throughout October. This list is based on films I personally like and will be presented in no particular order of preference. Possible spoilers ahead. At number 1, we have Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, directed by Charles Barton and written by Robert Lees, Frederick I. Rinaldo and John Grant. Released in 1948, the film starred Bud Abbott as Chick Young and Lou Costello as Wilbur Gray, with Lon Chaney Jr. reprising the role of Lawrence Talbot, the Wolfman, for the fifth and final time. Bela Lugosi would reprise the role of Count Dracula, a role he hadn't played since 1931 in Todd Browning's Dracula. Contrary to popular belief, he would only play the character twice. Glenn Strange played the monster, a role he had played twice before, first in House of Frankenstein, made in 1944, and House of Dracula, made in 1945. I find this film has all the right ingredients for Halloween: vampires, werewolves, the Frankenstein monster, and even a cameo from the Invisible Man, voiced by the great Vincent Price. This film is a lot of fun to watch and can generally be enjoyed with younger viewers. At number 2, we have An American Werewolf in London, written and directed by John Landis. Released in 1981, the film starred David Norton as David Kessler, the titular American werewolf, Jenny Agutter as Nurse Alex Price, and Griffin Dunne as Jack Goodman. David and Jack are attacked on the moors by a werewolf. David gets the curse of lycanthropy, and poor Jack is doomed to roam the earth as one of the undead, while the lineage of the werewolf remains. I first watched this film at the after-school video club at my old secondary school circa 1983. It scared me, but I loved it. 41 years later, and I still love this film. It's spooky and funny in places, and it has a great soundtrack too. It does have a considerable amount of gore and plenty of nudity, so not one to watch with the kids. At number 3, we have Sleepy Hollow, directed by Tim Burton and written by Kevin Yeager and Andrew Kevin Walker, and based on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. Released in 1999, the film starred Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane, Christina Ricci as Christina Van Tassel, and Miranda Richardson as Lady Van Tassel, with an astounding supporting cast that boasts such names as Michael Gambon, Richard Griffiths, Christopher Walken, Michael Gough, and the Emperor himself, Ian McDiarmid. The film centers around Ichabod Crane being sent to Sleepy Hollow to investigate decapitations of some of its residents, the culprit being a legendary apparition known as the Headless Horseman. Sleepy Hollow is a love letter from Tim Burton to the Hammer films of old, with even a cameo from the great Christopher Lee. The film mixes comedy with gruesome gore, and with its misty and haunting forest and overall atmosphere, this makes it perfect viewing for Halloween lovers like myself. At number 4, we have Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, directed by Jim Stenstrom and written by Rick Kopp, David A. Goodman, Davis Doy, and Glenn Leopold. Released in 1999, the voice actors were Scott Innes, who voiced Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, Mary Kay Bergman, who voiced Daphne Blake, Frank Welker, who voiced Fred Jones, and B.J. Ward, who voiced Velma. The film also boasts the voice talent of the legendary Tim Curry, who voiced Ben Ravencroft. The story centers around Scooby and the Mystery Gang visiting Oak Haven, Massachusetts, to seek strange going-ons involving a famous horror novelist, who in my opinion gives me Stephen King vibes, and his ancestor, who is rumored to be a witch. This film also introduces us to the Hex Girls, who would go on to make a further appearance in Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. They're fun and entertaining. Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost has a great Halloween vibe and is an entry which can be enjoyed with younger viewers. However, it does get a little intense towards the end, so parents may want to check this one out first. At number 5, we have Halloween, directed by John Carpenter and written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Released in 1978, the film starred Donald Pleasence as Loomis and Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie. It centers around Michael Myers, who escapes from a mental hospital, having been there for 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, and then returning to Haddonfield, Illinois with murdering intentions. This film used to terrify me when I was younger, and although it no longer scares me, I do like to watch it during this season, as I love the Halloween vibe it gives off. It is set on Halloween after all. Although I watched it as a child, certainly not one for the kids. At number 6, we have From Beyond the Grave, directed by Kevin Connor and written by Robin Clark, Raymond Christodoulou, and based on stories by R. Chetwynd Hayes. Released in 1974, the film starred Peter Cushing as a proprietor, David Warner as Edward Charlton in segment 1 titled The Gatecrasher, Donald Pleasence as Jim Underwood in segment 2 titled An Act of Kindness, Nairi Dawn Porter as Susan Warren in segment 3 titled The Elemental, and Ian Ogilvy as William Seaton in segment 4 titled The Door. From Beyond the Grave is an anthology of 4 short horror stories made by Amicus, which revolves around a mysterious antique shop owner who owns an antique shop called Temptations Limited, and his antique shop pieces, each of which hides a deadly secret. This is my favourite out of Amicus anthologies, with The House That Dripped Blood being in close second. Always a pleasure to see Peter Cushing, and here he shines as a shop proprietor who dishes out deadly punishments to those who dare cheat him. The stories are spooky and creepy, and I love to watch this during Halloween. My personal favourite out of the 4 segments is segment 3, The Elemental. Let me know in the comments below if you have a favourite segment. At number 7, we have The Woman in Black, directed by James Watkins and written by Jane Goldman, based on a novel written by Susan Hill. Released in 2012, the film starred Daniel Radcliffe as Arthur Kipps, Kieran Hines as Sam Daly, and Liz White as Janet, the titular Woman in Black. This was at the time a new release from Hammer Studios, and it's quite a good entry into their existing horror portfolio. The film centers around a young solicitor played by Radcliffe, who travels to a remote village where he discovers that the vengeful ghost of a scorned woman is terrorizing the locals by killing their children. Maybe a bit too intense for younger viewers, but I really enjoyed this film, which has a lot of the right ingredients for a spooky Halloween night, with quite a few scares and a shocking ending. At number 8, we have I Sell the Dead, directed by Glenn McQuaid and written by Glenn McQuaid and Ketty Stamo. Released in 2008, the film starred Dominic Monaghan as Arthur Blake, Ron Perlman as Father Duffy, Larry Fessenden as Willie Grimes, with even an appearance by Angus Scrimm as Dr. Quint, who many will know as the tall man from the Phantasm film. The film centers around a grave robber, Arthur Blake, played by Dominic Monaghan, who reflects on his life of crime in jail. This has all the right ingredients for a spooky Halloween night, with some mist and graveyards, grave robbing, and even the undead, with some other weird surprises, which I found rather amusing. The film is a lot of fun, with some very comedic moments interspersed with some gruesome scenes. At number 9, we have The Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson and written by Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson. Released in 1996, the film starred Michael J. Fox as Frank Bannister, Trini Alvarado as Lucy Linsky, Dee Wallace as Patricia Bradley, Jake Busey as Johnny Bartlett, and the reanimator himself, Jeffrey Combs, as FBI agent Milton Dammers. The film centers around Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox, who, after a tragic accident that kills his wife, discovers he can communicate with the dead and uses that gift to con people with the help of 3 ghosts, played by John Astin, Chi McBride, and Jim Fife. There are some spooky cemetery scenes and a hooded demonic killer, with a scythe that can kill both the living and the dead. perfect for the Halloween season. I really enjoyed this one and try to watch it around this spooky season. And finally at number 10 we have The Conjuring, directed by James Wan and written by Chad Hayes and Carrie W. Hayes. Released in 2013, the film starred Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren and Vera Farmiga as Lorraine Warren, Ron Livingston as Roger Perron, and Lily Taylor as Caroline Perron. Centered around paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who work to help the Perron family who are being terrorized by a dark presence in their farmhouse. Supposedly based on a true story, The Conjuring is a scary film. The spirits are terrifying, and there are some very intense scenes. James Wan really knows how to deliver those jump scares. A haunted house, ghosts, and even a possession makes this a solid entry into my Halloween list. And that was my top 10 list of films that I normally watch during the Halloween season. Here are some honorable mentions that didn't make the list this time, but are still worth a watch. The Fearless Vampire Killers, also known as Dance of the Vampires, released in 1967, directed by Roman Polanski and starring Jack McGowan, Roman Polanski, and Sharon Tate. A fun vampire comedy with a gay vampire and a Jewish vampire immune to crucifixes thrown in a mix. The House that Dripped Blood, released in 1971, directed by Peter Duffel and starring Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Denham Elliott. This is an amicus portmanteau which I find a lot of fun to watch. And Season of the Witch, released in 2011, directed by Dominic Sena and starring Nicolas Cage and Ron Perlman. There is even a cameo by Christopher Lee. Hope you enjoyed my list of films for the Halloween season. Let me know in the comments below what films you like to watch during the Halloween season. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. I have been JJP, and I look forward to discussing films and shows that we are all passionate about. Happy Halloween, and hope to see you soon.